Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dental Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Pistorius. I am the author of The Ultimate Guide to Internet Marketing for Dentists. I'm also the founder and CEO of KickStart Dental Marketing. So today I want to talk about some things that dentists ask me all the time. And one of the big topics that we get is SEO. It's been a buzzword for years, right? I mean, what is SEO? How do I do it? How do I do it myself? And so it's a huge segment, and I could spend half a day just talking about SEO for dental practices. But, I want to start with, the thought of getting organized for SEO. And I think good SEO and good structured SEO really starts with organization and kind of creating a checklist, right? So I've got kind of these notes that I'm doing for the podcast today. So you'll see me looking down quite a bit, but, I think it's important to know, first of all, that, you might have a dental practice right now with an awesome website. It looks great. You got like butterflies flying around in the corner and, you're just really proud of it. But maybe even though you've got a great website, you still struggle with bringing in local traffic. So these are the people that are actively looking for a dentist or an orthodontist or an endodontist or whatever it may be. And you've got this awesome website, but honestly, your website's really only as good as the people that can find it, if that makes sense. So I want to talk about that, not just, and this doesn't really apply just for local dental practices, even the big guys, the big DSOs, they have issues with this too. And, they rely on search engine rankings. A lot of our clients rely on it. And if you are not relying on it, because you don't have that much visibility on Google and somebody does a search for dentist or dentist near me, or how much do dentures cost, or am I a candidate for dental implants, then you're missing the boat. Because honestly, I would say that SEO, or good organic placement on Google and other search engines, is probably the number 2 overall source for new patients for our clients. Number 1 being word of mouth. That should really always be a dental practice's number 1 source, and maybe tied with insurance, but those 2 are up there. But after that, SEO is certainly right there. So, obviously I'm biased, and I'm going to recommend that you use a company like mine to get these SEO results and to be able to rank highly on Google, because it is pretty complex. It's not easy to take a dental practice that's on page 5 right now and automatically get them ranking on the first page, because there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of other factors that go into it, and it's a pretty complex thing. So if you don't know what you're doing, it can be fairly difficult. But if you are going to do this on your own, I recommend putting together a checklist, something that you can work on. This isn't something you do overnight and all of a sudden the next day you're on top of Google. It takes time. And if you're in a major populated city like New York, Chicago, Boston, it's going to take some time because there's a bunch of competition there. So once you do get your website optimized, though, it can really pay off dividends for years to come. Like I said, it should be the 2nd or 3rd highest new patient generator for your practice. So let me just back up a little bit and let's talk about what is SEO, or search engine optimization, which is the technical term. And it really revolves around making your website as appealing as possible for not just your patients, right, or potential patients to look at, but also search engines. And it's not just Google, it's Yahoo, Bing, it's Facebook, it's Yelp. It's, you're really optimizing your website for a lot of different places. The goal here is to have your audience, potential new patients, existing patients, find your site easily on these types of websites. And other locations all over the web. And it's absolutely imperative for today's practice owners to learn about SEO, at least know the basics and how to make the most of today's SEO tools. I mean, when I first started this agency 12 years ago, there weren't nearly as many sophisticated tools as there are now to help with search engine optimization. And also, even if you don't plan on doing your own SEO, it's still a good idea to know about it so that when you go to hire an agency like mine, you know what questions to ask and you know what they're up to. So what I want to kind of go through first of all here is some of the most common tools that we use, and some kind of on page or on a website SEO basics that you should know about, as you work to optimize your own website, or if you hire somebody else to do that for you. So one factor are internal links. So an internal link or links to other pages on your website. Not only do these links help search engines recognize the validity of your website, but they also help customers navigate between web pages as well. So these are just links from one page on your website to another. And it's kind of like a web of navigation, if you will. Meta descriptions, or meta tags is what it's called sometimes. These are like short descriptions that Google and other search engines show on results pages. These descriptions kind of give your website visitors just a little snippet or a brief look at what you offer before they even click your website. So if you do a search on Google, you see like the main snippet of the website, and then underneath it, there's 2 or 3 lines describing what that website's about before you actually click on it. That's what we call a meta description. Search engine spiders. This is kind of weird, but these are like robots for Google and all the major search engines, and they're crawlers. And what they do is they use these bots to go out and evaluate and inspect different websites. And then the search engines like Google and whatnot will actually index those websites based on what these spiders or robots find. So you can think of it as like a filing cabinet, right? And Google's the big filing cabinet. Well, the filing cabinet doesn't have every website in the world on it. It's only got the ones that these robots and bots have gone out and crawled and said, yeah, this is a valid website. It's got good content, whatever it may be. Let's bring it into the filing cabinet, right? So these bots really are what power the algorithms with Google and these search engines in order to figure out what websites are out there. Now, exterior links, or what I like to call backlinks, are links on your website that connect to other websites. So this is where we get into link building, right? So we like to go out and try to do links from other authoritative websites to your website. It used to be you could just go out and get, thousands of these links. You could buy them and you could get your website ranked pretty easily, but it's not that easy anymore because Google is caught on and they're only really looking for natural links, organic links, not links you go out and pay for. That's what they would consider spam now. And it's like a popularity contest, right? It's like one of our strategies, which is completely legit, is we'll do some press releases and we'll get an article picked up by 40 or 50 different news outlets all across the country. And within that news piece that we distribute, there's a link from their website, a national news organization, back to your website. So that's a very credible link, if you will, in terms of Google, and it really helps with overall SEO. So the title tag is another big thing to pay attention to. And the title tag is really what your customers first see when they do a search on Google. It's that main title that I talked about earlier, and the meta description is right under it. They're short, they need to be well written. They need to tell Google what you do, how you do it. And you've got, I think, about 160 characters or so to do that in. It's just a short description of your business that appears above that meta description. So let's talk about kind of the keyword research checklist for search engines. If you've ever dabbled in SEO before, you're probably familiar with keywords already. However, SEO efforts neither start nor end with keywords, and optimizing your website is kind of like buying a house. You're never done with it. It's constantly evolving and changing, and you've got to stay up with that. So if you want to improve your website's rankings on Google, you really need to add what I would call the following terms to your checklist. Long tail keywords. These are keywords that you need to go after that aren't like dentist or dentist and city or dentist near me. Those are what we would call short tailed keywords. Long tail keywords are a different type of keyword that changes how people find your site. So while they're a bit more challenging to learn and use, the payoff can be significant if you utilize them correctly. So an example is we do a lot of dental implant stuff for some of our clients. And, it's great to be able to rank for dental implant city. There's a lot of searches for that. But what we also try to target are longer tailed keywords where it's like cost of dental implants in city, right? So a lot more words, a lot more specific search, right? Well, what we see is that the people that take the time to type in a more detailed description of what they're looking for are a lot further along in the buying cycle, and they're a much more targeted potential new patient for you. So it can be very helpful to go after not just the short-term keywords, but also the long tail. So keyword difficulty is something else that we look at. So dentist near me is one of the top searches right now in Google for dental related stuff. And it's the most competitive. So there's a lot of other dentists in your area that are trying to show up for that same keyword, right? So we look at each keyword and the difficulty and what we think it would take investment wise to be able to rank for that. And sometimes it's just not worth it, right? I mean, you may get a lot of searches, but there's other keywords that we can go after and get ahead of the competition without having to spend tons of money on content and man hours to be able to get you those results. So we always look at the keyword difficulty and what that looks like. So I would consider when we talk about these keywords is there is a couple of great tools out there that we use. Surfer SEO is one of them, or SEM Rush. Either one of those, and there's a lot of them out there. Those are two of the ones that we use. And they're great tools to just look up keywords, see how many times a keyword is searched, and also see the difficulty and the competition, what the work that it's going to take to actually get you ranked for that. So what else should you put on your kind of complete SEO checklist, if you will? So, there's a lot of old SEO techniques out there that can hurt you. And I told you, like, buying a ton of links to your website is a bad idea, but they still exist. You can go out and buy links to your website. But long-term, that's a terrible strategy because that's going to get you in trouble and probably penalized by Google and search engines. So, in addition to improving your website and optimizing it, you should also check for other issues that may require fixing along the way, because we could do the best SEO linking and on-page optimization, but there could be some damage done by maybe a previous SEO company or, who knows? It depends on how long you've been in business, but we usually go in and we do a complete evaluation just to see if there are already like bad backlinks, right? Because we want to get rid of those backlinks if at all possible, because they could be potentially hurting your optimization scores. So another couple of things, duplicate content, it's just not a good idea. There's other companies out there that just basically build a website, a dental website, and then they build the next dental website and the next dental website, and they use the same content for each website. They might change how it looks a little bit, but that's going to hurt you in the long run because Google doesn't like duplicated content. It looks lazy, it looks cheap, and that's not what they're after. So you don't want to have duplicate content. A great tool to use to check to see if your website does have duplicated content would be Copyscape. Check that out and you can run some tests. Broken links. So if you have links that are supposed to go to other pages on your website or even other pages on other websites, you need to make sure that they all are working great. Site speed is another thing. How fast does your website load? Google's got a great tool that talks about and actually measures your site speed and how fast it loads. You should definitely check that out. There's a lot of other tools as well that you can use, like SEO plugins. And this is mostly for WordPress websites. So if you have a WordPress website, plugins can be very helpful for that. One that we use a lot is called Yoast, Yoast. It's a plugin that can very easily allow you to manipulate title tags, meta descriptions. It can measure your content and see if you've got enough content or not enough. It can make sure that you're using the right keywords on the right pages. it can be a great way to make SEO a lot easier if you're doing it yourself. I would probably, when we're talking about tools with this checklist, Google Search Console is another big one. It's basically where you register your website with Google so you can get it indexed, first of all, but it also will tell you of any issues, technical issues with it. It's free to use. It'll send you messages if something's wrong and you need to fix something. Google Analytics, a lot of you probably already have that, but that basically measures your website traffic. How many visitors are coming in, where they're coming from, how long they're staying on your website, what pages they're visiting, so it can help you see what pages are most important. Very good tool. And again, that's free. Webmaster Tools, it's Bing's version of kind of Google's Search Console. It just kind of shows you how you can better rank on Bing. Before you snub Yahoo or Bing, while they don't get as many searches, those users are more affluent. So if you are like a fee for service practice, I would definitely mix in Bing and Yahoo into your SEO plans. And if you do paid advertising, I would definitely try to put some budget towards Yahoo and Bing as well. Just kind of a bonus tip. But anyways, I'm going to wrap this up, but there's a dozen things or more than tools that you can use for SEO. We use a lot of them. If you have questions, let me know. Even if you're doing this on your own, I'll be more than happy to do a strategy session with you and kind of look at what you've done and give you some tips. Even if you have no intention on hiring us, that's fine. I'd rather put you and steer you in the right direction versus you spending a lot of money maybe and just not getting results out of it. So let me know if you'd like to do that. But, also if you find some of this overwhelming and you just don't have time to do it, which I totally understand, let me know. So let's set up a strategy session, absolutely free of charge. I'll go through everything that you've got going on with your website now. I'll give you just free tips and advice, but then I can do a proposal and actually show you what I think it would take to get you up above your competition and start getting more new patient flow from SEO. So anyway, I hope you got a little bit of value out of this. Like I said, we could go on for hours on this topic, but at least I wanted to share with you some of the things that we do here internally at KickStart Dental Marketing to help our clients. And maybe you can take some of this and work on SEO on your own. So like I said, it's incredibly important in today's marketing landscape. So anyway, this has been another edition of the Dental Marketing Podcast. Please be sure to check in next week and we'll tackle another critical marketing topic for your dental practice.